Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Bernard, and wow, you weren't kidding before we recorded about faking some high energy.
Yeah.
And I'm Trish.
Yeah, all those years of customer service, I got it down to a science.
Nice.
Today we'll be playing the first game in our Best of the Rest duology, which was Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64 Entertainment System. Today we'll be covering the Prologue and Chapter 1, but before we get to all of that, how's everyone's week?
I just told you both this before we started recording, but my headset broke. I went to put it on, and just randomly, the plastic connecting one of the ear bits snapped. No wires are damaged or anything, so it should be an easy fix. I just don't have any of the tools to fix it. So, been in a weird state of like, I'm used to dealing with sensory issues by having headphones on almost all the time and listening to things, and not being able to do that is a little difficult. I'm finding ways to cope, but it's not easy. Other than that, the only other thing that's pretty big is the partner who was visiting the last few episodes. I'd mentioned I had a partner visiting. We went and took them back to the train station last week, and I had to stay up really late to go to be a part of that, and I made the horrible mistake of doing that because now my sleep is bifurcated without my consent, so I can't sleep more than like 3 or 4 hours in a single rest, and I've ended up sleeping like 12 to 13 hours every day total in these weird little spurts that I have no control over, and I hate it, and I feel tired all the time.
And now you won't refill any of your spell slots because you're only going to take a short rest.
I can only take short rest. I mean, here's the thing is I am a wizard, so I am able to do the arcane recovery, so okay. I can kind of get some back every so often, but not as many as I wish.
What about you, Bernard? How was your week?
My week, my month, my year, my life have been difficult. But I'm trying to do things to like improve my health, my physical health, my mental health. I'm trying to do some things, and I'm really bad at sticking with things.
Mm-hmm.
Longer than like 2 days. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I played a lot of Tales of Destiny this week. And that was
there was a lot to play.
that was most of what I've been doing. Other than that, just have been reading a bunch of the Higurashi manga, and I am almost done. I'm on the chapter 7 out of chapter 8 when it's starting to reveal what the point was the whole time, and which isn't like derogatory against the beginning of it. It's like crazy.
No, that's
cool
how it
awesome.
works.
It's crazy, cool, and awesome that like you start to finally understand it at the end. Depending on how these last 2 episodes go, I still think Umineko might be better and my favorite, but this one's still really, really good. If you haven't played it or watched it or read it, I highly recommend.
I need to go back through it. I haven't touched the series since back in like the early to mid 2000s, like not long after the anime first came out, where I randomly caught a couple episodes of it at my very first anime convention, and was like, "What?" Just completely out of context. It was like, "What is this?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really good. Shout outs to Francesco for being our very first ever commissioned episode, who made us play the first one and got me addicted to Ryukishio 7's work. So,
woo!
Yeah, I think that's everything I did this week. Well, everything I feel like talking about on the mic. So, let's listen to some wonderful music, and then we will start talking about this game. Okay, first up is a little bit of history about Paper Mario. Paper Mario was developed by Intelligent Systems, who we're most familiar with for having created the Fire Emblem series. But this was not the Fire Emblem team that made it. This wasn't even an adventure game team of any sort. This was the team that made Wario's Woods and Panel de Pon, which I thought was amazing. So they were given this project after the now legendary falling out between Nintendo and Square, because that ended up canceling Super Mario RPG 2, and instead Square went on to change RPG history by making Final Fantasy 7. So after this divorce and it was handed off into an internal Nintendo team, the team took a year and a half to just experiment with the game, trying out gameplay and graphical styles to differentiate itself from Super Mario RPG. They changed the name from Super Mario RPG 2 to Mario Story in Japan and Super Mario Adventure abroad. To decide what a Mario RPG in the third dimension would look like, the team split into 4 groups, and each group was going to come up with a art style, and then they would pit them against each other to decide which one they would go with. But during that process, there was a lot of downtime for some members of the team, and so while they were waiting on a different department, Naohiko Aoyama made a mock-up of just 3D graphics with Mario World sprites in it, hoping to jumpstart one of the other teams with ideas, but everybody was like, no, we don't need ideas. This is the thing. This is what we're doing. This is perfect. This is it. And they were... one of the main reasons that they were super excited about it is a problem they were running into is you couldn't really have expressiveness in 3D models, and they really wanted super expressive characters, and doing it in sprites. They've been doing sprites for 20 years at that point. They could make some super expressive sprites, so they thought that would be super awesome to add more character and heart to the game. And it was thus that Super Mario Adventure: The Paper Trail was born. Later, just became Paper Mario, but its first working title was Super Mario Adventure: The Paper Trail.
That's a pretty good title, actually.
That's a really good title. I love that because it feels like it fits into like the Super Mario Brothers series, Super Mario World series, Super Mario Land. Super Mario Adventure would have been the next one. Like, that's great. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just started being shortened to Paper Mario, and then they're like, I think we're just going to call it Paper Mario. Happens all the time. Along the lines of having it expressive and cute and things like that, they had the idea of the story for the game basically from the jump, because they wanted it to appeal to everyone and not be some, quote, grand, enticing story, because serious and dramatic themes they thought would not work at all in the Mario franchise, so they wanted to find something that would just be cute and simple. A thing that didn't cite its sources say HAL Laboratory wrote the original script, and if the original pitch, and so if the story was there from the beginning, maybe it came from HAL Laboratories, but they didn't cite a source, so don't trust that. The bulk of Paper Mario's 4-year development cycle was spent fine-tuning the battle system.
And it shows.
Miyamoto wanted this game to be one that made sense for amateur gamers, but not be so boring that experienced players would find it mindless. So that's how they came up with the action commands, which are leveled way up more than just being a simple button press in Super Mario RPG, and it became a much more involved system.
And also, I suspect that Nintendo had a conspiracy to get people to destroy their Nintendo 64 controllers, so they'd have to buy new ones.
Yes.
Making those as hard as possible, as fast as possible.
Yeah, and I think you have to do some crazy stuff with the control stick later on too, and yeah.
And on top of that, all the Mario parties, they
yes, exactly.
They wanted you
to lawsuit.
They not only wanted you to buy 4 controllers when you got the thing, they then wanted you to replace them once a year.
Yes.
Similarly, the badge system was a simplified version of equipment and also how you gain new abilities all rolled into one, and it wasn't reliant on stats whatsoever. And so you have the depth to develop your character, but it not be presented with a math problem for new players. It's kind of genius.
Yeah,
I have so many good things to say about it.
This game's design is just so genius.
It is.
The soundtrack for the game was composed by Sugiyoko. Sorry, I can't read my own notes. And then jingles and sound effects and other musical flourishes were done by Taishi Senda. Sugiyoko composed the music by taking the original Koji Kondo music from Super Mario Bros. 1, 3, and World and iterating on them, expanding on them, adding new songs, new vibes to them to make it fit the context of an RPG.
Which fits so well also what the team did with the world building of this game and how it takes the previous, very loose, barely together there Mario canon that kind of existed and just stitching it all together into a beautiful tapestry.
Mm-hmm.
So,
this game was originally planned for the N64 DD, like most games at the time. But, after it failed horribly, they moved it over to the regular N64, and it ended up being the second to last release Mario game on the N64, with only Mario Party 3 releasing after it. So, Trish, what happens in this game?
Quite a few things. Before you even make a file, the game starts up with a little opening storybook section, which I never watched as a kid because I was an impatient little shit who just rented this game for the weekend and wanted to play as much of it as I could before I had to return it at the video store. The storybook tells of the fabled Star Haven, a place far above the clouds where the 7 star spirits use the Star Rod to grant the wishes of those who make pleas to them in the world below. But then, as the page turns, there's something taped onto the page, the witch Kami Koopa. The narrator is very confused by this, only for them to be interrupted by Bowser, who appears as a member of the audience, making it clear that he is changing this story. Within the story itself, he and Kami work together to steal the Star Rod, and with its power, bind the 7 star spirits into playing cards. Once they leave, their dastardly work done, a single small star enters the haven, and the narrator explains that with the Star Rod gone, star spirits may attempt whatever they might, but no wishes will ever come true, not unless someone can do something about this. The game properly begins with a flying Koopa mail carrier delivering a letter to the home of the Mario Brothers, and Luigi bringing it to his brother to read it out. Princess Peach is inviting them both to a party at her castle, where guests from many distant locales will be gathered, and much is being provided in the way of refreshments. Apparently, they don't even have to discuss if they're going or not, because the next thing we get is just the two of them leaving their house and traveling via pipe in their front yard to Toad Town, where we watch them.
Doesn't the invitation say like I'm holding a party today?
Yes.
That's not good. That's not good hosting.
Here's the thing: is I think it might be a case of like everyone else who got invited got invitations way earlier. It was just like oh wait, we forgot Mario and Luigi. We should invite them too.
I mean, everyone knows Mario and Luigi are coming, so maybe it's just like no one thought to invite them.
But the brothers maneuver through the town of Toad Town, a space that we're going to explore ourselves a bit later, before they get to the castle, where the player is given free rein to look around before they go to find Princess Peach. And you might want to, because a lot of these NPCs who are idling around are from places we'll end up visiting later in the game. The princess herself is off on her own at the moment, and when Mario goes to see her, she's quite ecstatic to see him. Apparently she was resting, since hosting this many people gets tiring for her. Haha, I don't know what that's like. Not at all. They're about to head up to a balcony to chat together, an interesting idea considering Mario can't talk in this game, only for something to interrupt this rendezvous, an earthquake. Or maybe something a little more drastic than just an earthquake. The ground around the castle splits apart, and the castle itself rises into the air, revealing a structure hidden underneath it, floating up and carrying both buildings high up into the air, until they reach a point where the night sky and stars shine outside the windows, even though it's the middle of the day. We're talking like exosphere level, people. Just as Peach is marveling at what has happened, Bowser smashes through the window in his Koopa clown car, with Kami on her broom just behind. He taunts about what he's done, building a castle underneath Peach's, and then hoisting both of them up into the sky, taking control of Peach's castle as well as Peach herself. Okay, Bowser.
Okay, Gay Bowser.
When Mario steps forward, ready to throw down, Bowser is not surprised, but he is also not worried in the slightest. From here we enter our first battle of the game, though for now the mechanics are being heavily simplified. All Mario can do is jump, which does 1 damage, and Bowser does his claw attack for the same amount right back. Mario has 10 HP, so the fight has a clear timer, but after just a few exchanges of blows, Bowser reveals his trump card, the Star Rod. Using its wish-granting abilities, he starts glowing with a rainbow aura.
Okay, Gay Bowser.
It's waiting. And can no longer be damaged at all. His attacks, meanwhile, get even stronger, and when Mario is just barely hanging on, Bowser unleashes with his Fire Breath, which hits so hard it would have taken Mario out at full health. What a dick. Also, I could be wrong, but this actually might have been my first ever hopeless boss fight in a video game. After some gloating over his victory against Mario, Bowser uses the Star Rod again, causing the already defeated hero to be hit by lightning and sending his body flying out the hole in the window, down to the world below. Peach is apprehended by Bowser's elite Koopa Trolls, and we get a beautiful view as Mario descends from space into the cloud cover, followed by the game's logo appearing, and a title card announcing the beginning of the Prologue, a plea from the stars. We begin the Prologue with Mario lying... Well, it's unclear. He could be dead or he could just be horribly injured. Either way, the 7 star spirits appear before him in a ghostly form, and lend Mario what little strength they still have, hoping it'll be enough to get the hero back on his feet. Once they leave, a small Goomba child approaches, having heard a loud thud, and sees Mario, trying to wake him up. She runs off, calling for her dad, Goompaw, and Goombario, whoever they are. Later, Mario is sleeping in a bed, and a white mustachioed star spirit, Eldstar, appears to speak with him. He can't say much, not there, but if Mario can reach a place called Shooting Star Summit, then more can be revealed. Once he's gone, Mario wakes up and a toad walks in. This is the Goomba Village's local toad house, a place for travelers to rest and recover, and Mario has been occupying the bed there for days. This is a small village, literally only comprised of this single toad and a family of Goombas, who are apparently quite nice. Mario explains that he needs to go to Shooting Star Summit, and while the toad thinks that was probably just a dream, he also admits it could be true, since Shooting Star Summit is the closest place to Star Haven. Mario is sent to talk to everyone in the Goomba family, something you do need to do before the game will let you leave because the village gate is currently broken. The son of the family, Goombario, is a huge Mario fanboy, and he's so excited to meet his hero in the flesh. Once you've chatted with everyone, the gate is ready to use, up until Cammy Koopa arrives. Seems that she had a feeling that Mario wasn't finished just yet, and uses her magic to summon a large wooden block and smashes the gate to pieces. Now, Mario's a really good jumper, so, in most games you could just jump over that obstacle, but we're an RPG, so it's a roadblock.
And, it's blocking where the gate was, but the fence isn't nearly as tall as it anyway.
Yeah.
The block, that's a triple jump. That's not an easy maneuver, but I feel like a double jump would get you over the fence.
And I'm looking at a screenshot right now. The ledge by their house is the height of the thing. So it would just be a long jump, which we know Mario can do. He could get over that fence, no problem.
Now, if only Mario had a hammer, one that could smash that block. Well, the thing is, the grandfather of the family, Goompaw, has a hammer. But when Mario goes out to talk to him about borrowing it, since he's currently using it to fix the veranda, there's nothing there. No Goompaw, no veranda, just open air.
I have a question. Sam, did you play this game as a kid?
Yes.
Okay, did y'all know the word veranda back then?
No.
Because I didn't. Okay.
Definitely my first time hearing about a veranda.
I didn't know the word veranda for way too late in life. I had no idea what it was.
I'm still not sure if there's something that distinguishes a veranda from
I feel like a veranda's it's like elevated porch, I guess?
Anyway.
For the second time in this game so far, Mario falls a great distance, though at least this time it is not from space.
Oh, Wikipedia says a veranda is a roofed platform along the outside of a house level with the ground floor. So this is definitely not a veranda.
Yeah, there's no roof.
And it's elevated.
It's level with the ground floor. You don't go upstairs to get to it. It's just
it is level with the ground floor of the house. It's
Just not level
just-
with the ground
yeah,
underneath.
but there is no roof.
Yeah. Mario floats down the entire way because, paper. Goomba waits below, and another wooden block is stopping either of them from heading towards the village. His hammer fell somewhere nearby. You have to go looking for it with him. Once you find it, you have the ability to, hammer things, and you get a chance to use that right away when the local bully, Junior Troopa, a Koopa who is still in his eggshell, attacks. He's a pushover, you literally can't lose this fight, but once he's defeated, he runs away, vowing revenge. I doubt we'll ever see him again. So now that you can actually win fights, you can accumulate star points, which are basically experience. When you hit 100, you level up, which allows you to upgrade either your HP, your FP, flower points, resource used to do stronger moves, or BP, badge points, which we'll get to later. Every time you level up, the amount of star points you get from winning a fight goes down, and eventually you won't be able to get any star points at all from weak enemies, so you can't just grind out levels. Once you get through the intervening areas, it's back to Goomba Village, where the kids were worried sick about their grandfather. Goomba offers Mario his first badge, Power Jump, and explains how they work. Badges are a bit like accessories in other RPGs, offering new attacks, or changing Mario's stats, or giving some other bonuses, but they're limited by how much BP you have, which is scarce, at least to start with. Goombario also decides to offer his help on Mario's quest, becoming the first partner. Partners have their own turn in battle, but they don't have any HP in this game. Instead, on those rare occasions when they would take damage in battle, they lose that many turns. Goombario has a head bonk attack, and a move called Tattle, which allows him to tell you about the enemies you're fighting, or to discuss NPCs and locations outside of battle.
And wow, there sure is a lot of writing behind
There's
this.
so much!
It's basically a party chat from a Dragon Quest game. That level of writing, and also it's crazy. Like when I realized that he has a unique bit of dialogue for each NPC in the game, that really surprised me.
And every enemy you can fight, and every area in the game.
Yeah, and every area does not mean, oh, he's going to say something about the Koopa Bros Fortress. It means every
Room.
unique loading zone, every room. Yeah.
And there's some fun little bit of tidbits you can find by doing that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can leave the village in the direction of Toad Town, and through it towards Shooting Star Summit. Though you have to fight a mini-boss on the path. The Goomba Brothers, who are red and blue Goomba. Which, again, like the Goomba Bros is like the Mario Bros, but red and blue? Not red and green? Okay. They're minions of the Goomba King, and maybe because they're twice the size of a normal Goomba, you might expect them to hit harder than a regular one, but no, they just have more health. Otherwise, they're really easy to take out, especially if you're using that Power Jump badge that Goomba gave you. Once they're defeated, they run off crying to their boss. Reaching the Goomba King's base, you get a fight against him and the brothers, though they're weakened from the last fight, and if you attack the tree, you could just take them out immediately when a Goomnut falls out to hit them and the king, one after another after another. But after defeating this trio, it doesn't actually solve anything. They just hole up inside their fortress and refuse to let you pass. Listening in on them, you can hear them talk about a switch hidden nearby, and it's one that they absolutely don't want to be pressed. It's easy to find, and once you hit it, the fortress crumbles, a bridge is formed to cross the gap, and the three Goombas are sent flying off into the sky like Team Rocket, leaving Mario and Goombario to head to Toad Town.
Since they flew off into the sky like Team Rocket, I'm sure we will see a lot of these guys again.
Oh, definitely. This is definitely setting something up, and not just a single letter. Actually, okay, to be fair, the Goomba King does appear in Super Mario 64 DS and Super Mario Kart DS. Though in those games, I think in both of those, he's called Goomboss instead of the Goomba King. But it's clearly the same dude. It's clearly the same dude. Once they leave the area, Kami Koopa flies away, having seen what happened. We cut over to Peach's castle, where Kami approaches his royal hamminess, telling Bowser about the defeat of the Goomba King. Apparently, he empowered the guy using the Star Rod, and is quite unimpressed he was defeated so easily. I am too. Really? You used a wish-granting rod and you gave him 10 HP, Bowser? Really?
Maybe his wish was like, give him 10 times HP, and 10 was... I guess that's still a problem of 10 being the biggest number he could think of.
Or maybe he just wished to be, like, a foot taller, or have a crown, or nice pants.
Yeah.
They talk about their evil plan, about how each of the 7 star spirits is currently being held captive by one of their minions, and as long as that's the case, they can't empower Mario.
And Bowser can't be defeated by Mario, so why doesn't he keep at least one of the star spirits with himself?
Because that would be difficult to get around, and that's not how the game works.
Yeah.
I guess we'd have to do some sort of heist or something, and that would be a bit too complicated a scenario.
And prior to both of you being on here, we have had this running joke where the plot should never be to go get all the things. It should be go get one thing and destroy it, so the bad guy now can't defeat the whole world or whatever.
Okay, but this is the opposite situation, because we need all 7 to beat him.
Yes.
It's not if the bad guy gets them, then we lose.
Yeah, but
he already has them.
But from Bowser's perspective, he should just
I
take
see.
one, that Mario can't stop him.
I see.
If he kept all of them together, then maybe that would be a problem. But yeah, if he just kept one with him,
yeah,
there would be no problem. Anyway,
the closest one.
There's a reason he loses in every game.
There is.
He's not very good.
The closest one where Mario is now is at the Koopa Bros Fortress, and on cue, the 4 Koopa Bros arrive. They're a color-coded bunch of acrobatic, almost ninja-like Koopas. Ninja Turtles, if you will. And they're a bit obsessed with their own coolness. Bowser is just a tad bit worried that they won't be able to handle Mario, but then they show off their ultimate technique off-screen, and it completely impresses the King of the Koopas. And then Bowser's like, so, who's guarding Eldstar? And they're like, we are. And Bowser's like, yeah, but you're here. And they're like, yeah. At which point he explodes on them, and they run off with a slide whistle transition. I love it. Back with Mario, he and his Goomba pal reach Toad Town, and there's a lot of stuff to do. You could visit Luigi, you could shop, you could talk to the know-it-all Toad. There'd probably be more to do if the town wasn't There'd currently be more to do if half of the town wasn't currently inaccessible, and several features of the places you can visit aren't open yet. But also, you don't need to do any of that. You just gotta head straight to Shooting Star Summit. That said, on the way you can take a detour over to the Fortune Teller's house, where you can then talk to said prognosticator's younger brother, who will trade you badges for your star pieces. And I would recommend getting the Pretty Lucky badge. If you have gotten all the star pieces you can get so far, you can exactly afford it, and it's really useful. Anyway, heading to the top of the summit has Mario finally talk to all the star spirits while he is actually conscious. They explain what's happening, most of which we already know, though they do mention that because Bowser's wishes suck, they've never granted any of them, which is what prompted him to attack them and steal the Star Rod. This conversation has sapped their powers pretty thoroughly, but if Mario can free them from their playing card imprisonment, then they can bestow upon him powers that'll help him defeat Bowser and take back his stolen wish-granting tool. Once that exposition is done, we cut to Princess Peach, who is locked inside her bedroom. Just as she's wishing for help, Bowser enters the room, bragging about how his evil plan is going so well, and then after he leaves, a small star kid taps on the balcony doors, and Peach lets him in. His name is Twink, and I'm so sorry. I want to promise you that there'll be no jokes about his name, but I don't know if I can keep that promise. Anyway,
his name is Twink.
His name is Twink. He's there to grant her wishes for help, but
I wish I had a Twink to grant my wishes.
I mean, same. He's there to grant her wish for help, but without, the star spirits or the star rod, there isn't actually anything he can do. So he takes a message and a gift from Peach to send to Mario, and leaves Peach hoping that will be enough. Returning to focus on Mario again, we get hit in the head by the oncoming Twink, who delivers the lucky star that Peach entrusted him with. Using that, we can finally use action commands.
Finally!
I don't know why they weren't enabled from the start. Parentheses, okay, I do know. I just don't approve. Anyway, we get an immediate example of how to use them when a Magikoopa arrives, having apparently followed Twink's flight. This is a somewhat harder fight than what we've actually had thrown at us thus far, because now we actually have action commands, and that adds some timing-based skill to things. Once the mage is defeated, Twink flies back to hang out with Peach. Once back in Toad Town, Mario is told that Merlin is looking for him, though when you try to open the door, he shouts from inside that he isn't home. On your second try, he slams the door open hard enough to knock Mario to the ground, and then when he comes out and sees what's happening, he asks Mario why he's sleeping outside his house. Once he recognizes that Mario is Mario, he takes the famous plumber in and tells him a very long story regarding a vision he received, most of which we don't get to see because Mario almost immediately falls asleep. After Mario wakes up, Merlin makes it more clear that he can point the best way forward in the main adventure whenever you talk to him, and for right now that's to the east, towards Koopa Bros Fortress. There is an issue with that. The road in that direction is being blocked by a group of strange toads who refuse to let you by, and if you talk to them, they'll tell you to definitely not tell Merlin about them. So, you go do that. But you do have to go and talk to him behind his crystal ball, not in front of it. Otherwise, he'll just do his normal fortune-telling thing and tell you to go east again. Definitely not confusing at all.
I wasted so many coins thinking I was doing it wrong.
Real talk, as a kid, this part thoroughly stumped me for multiple weeks where I didn't know how you were supposed to get past this part. I was a dumb kid. Heading out to see why the road is being blocked, Merlin can quickly tell these four aren't actually toads, and casts chain lightning on them to destroy their disguises, and reveal them as the Koopa Bros, who retreat. Before heading back to his house, Merlin tells Mario that it's also vital as part of his quest that he gets the assistance of a blue-shelled Koopa, and recommends checking Koopa Village. Heading out the correct exit for town, brings up the banner announcing the start of Chapter 1, Storming the Koopa Bros Fortress. There's a new enemy in these parts, Koopa Troopas, who are differentiated from the nice Koopas you can talk to by their red shells and their punk bracelets and their black sunglasses.
I love it.
I love it too. They have more health than Goombas do, and they actually have some defense, but if you jump on them and flip them over, their defense evaporates, and they can't move until they right themselves back up. After clearing the first few areas in this path, it starts to split, one way going towards the fortress and the other towards Koopa Village. As Merlin told us, we've got to go to the village to recruit a new partner if we want to continue onward, and we get there to find the community is in a state of turmoil as fuzzies have shown up and started stealing all the Koopa's shells. This seems to have nothing to do with the Koopa Bros or Bowser or anything. The fuzzies are just being dicks. You can bash the fuzzies outside of battle to make them drop any shells they might be holding, or a coin if they don't have one, but other than that coin, there doesn't seem to be any benefit to this except getting some interesting conversations and being nice.
Is it possible to catch the one running around in the middle?
I have no clue. I have tried for so long, I've never managed it. I don't believe it. If someone told me that you can, I wouldn't believe them.
Yeah, I was even trying, I realized if you do the spin, which you can do a spin, which technically it's faster, but you speed up and then you slow down at the end, so it's barely any faster. But I realized you can cancel out of it by swinging the hammer, so I was trying to do advanced moves where I was doing a spin and then canceling out with a hammer to try and hit the fuzzy with the hammer, and I could not get it. I don't think it's possible. You can probably Google it, but yeah. I didn't.
Yeah. Anyway, it's pretty easy to find the blue-shelled Koopa because his house is shaking from a fight happening inside. Cooper is the guy's name, and he wants his prized blue shell back. He blocks one exit and sends Mario in to nab the fuzzy responsible, but once you enter, it leads through the back door into some woods. Chasing after it, more fuzzies appear, and they're a bit of a pain to deal with considering the timing to block their attacks is hard to learn, and they'll drain you of your HP with each hit, healing themselves. After you reach a dead end, a fuzzy with Cooper's shell plays a shell game with you, jumping between trees, and you have to pick the right one to find him 3 times. After you do that, he drops the shell and Cooper arrives. Once he has his shell back, Cooper realizes that this is Mario, and you're on a quest, and he explains that he's always idolized his neighbor, the great archaeologist explorer Colorado. I always get tripped over that. I want to think it's pronounced differently, but it is just like the state Colorado.
With a K.
With a K. He begs to join your quest, so he can go out and see the world, and, like, you need him. So yeah, you do that. But as you and he try to leave the area, a swarm of fuzzies attack, triggering a sort of mini-boss fight, one that can be handled by a single fire flower if you've got one. But also it's a good chance to play around with Cooper's FP-using move, Power Shell, which will hit all the enemies on the ground. So, really good for taking care of that fight. With that done, the village is cleared of the fuzzies, and you're able to strike out for the fortress with a new partner in tow. Oh, and outside of battle, you can kick Cooper's shell to hit things that are far away, or to grab items. Before we move on to the fortress, there is just one more thing. There's a few Bob-Ombs who are currently living in Koopa Village, both of whom used to work in the fortress for the Koopa Bros. They escaped because, apparently, the Bros don't believe in workers' rights and literally keep all their Bob-Omb workers in jail. I was gonna make a joke about unions, but also there's a little Goombario tidbit later about how this old fortress probably originally belonged to the Bob-Ombs, and the Koopa Bros just came in and took over. We just spent a whole game talking about settler colonialism, but Anyway, the fortress is a dungeon that's not only full of enemies, including some baddie Bob-Ombs, but also traps, locked doors, and puzzles. If you traverse the tower, one by one the Koopa Bros show up to make progress harder, which the most damning of them actually making a fake question mark block that you have to hit even though it's an obvious trap because there is no other way to progress. And once you hit it, you drop into the prison. Most of the Bob-Ombs there have no clue on how to escape, but there is a pink one with a heart-shaped winding key, Bombette, who is exploding mad and a self-described menace, and happily joins on as an extra partner. With her, Mario can blow up suspicious-looking cracks in walls, of which we have seen a fair number throughout the fortress thus far. Now, you could ask why none of the Bob-Ombs, including Bombette, have thought of doing this to the cracks that are in the prison wall here, and the answer is simple. Bombette is kind of silly, and I forgive her.
Yes.
I love her so much.
Love her.
I wish partners who aren't Goombario got more opportunity to have dialogue and stuff in this game, because most of them, the dialogue they do have is really good.
They do. I agree. Like, I really wish some of the partners, especially Bombette, got more dialogue. Because, yeah, Goombario's tattle thing means he's effectively, like, outpaces them in that category by a huge degree. With Bombette in tow, it's easy to work through the fortress, raising a submerged stairway, climbing to the top, where the bros have set up bullet bill blasters to fire at you. After weaving through their waves of bullet bills and taking out the blasters themselves, you're left with just the final door. Beyond it, the fight against the Koopa Bros. Or at least, that's what you would think, right? But it's not the four multicolored Ninja Turtles who emerge to battle, but Bowser ? An obvious wooden construct of the Koopa King, who does not hit very hard, and just keeps telling you how pointless it is to fight him. After you take out this fascist facsimile, the Koopa Bros emerge from the wreckage to finally fight as themselves, with their kick-ass theme song blaring in the background. They're actually a fairly tough group to face if you're not careful, especially when they tower up to all attack as once for a lot of damage. You've got to take them out one by one, toppling them in tower mode with the help of hammering, Kooparing, or bombetting.
I defeated Bowser ? With Mario, so my turns were off the whole time, and so it was like quite difficult for a while. I couldn't figure out what I was doing, and I was like, "Oh wait, no, this makes sense." So I just wasted a turn like healing or something, and then it leveled back out. But
yeah, when you only have, if you haven't used your 1 or 2 level up so far on your HP at all, which I didn't, having 10 HP and the boss hits for 4 if you don't guard against it correctly, that's a lot of your health.
Yeah.
Once they're all defeated and sent flying down into their own jail, Eldstar appears in card form, and once you grab him, the chapter ends. But we're not done just yet. No siree, because there's a whole other Peach segment. And this time, we actually get to do something.
Yay.
Peach is pacing back and forth, worrying about Mario, before deciding to try and find a way to help him. There's no way out through the balcony, and there are guards just outside the door, but Peach has heard that this room actually has a secret passage. She's just never found it. Looking around, there's a button hidden behind a painting, and pressing it turns the fireplace into a passageway. It takes Peach and Twink into a locked room, where they find a diary. Bowser's diary, to be specific. He brags about his accomplishments, hopes that Peach likes him just as much as he likes her, and admits that though Mario has retrieved the first Star Spirit, there is another one in Dry Dry Ruins, and Mario has no chance of finding it. And, yeah, it would be really hard, considering you don't know that's where it is. I don't know how Mario would have found that out. But now Twink knows, and he can take that knowledge to Mario. Just as Bowser arrives trying to hide his diary and is shocked to find Princess Peach. He doesn't question the strange addition to the room of the weird turned-around fireplacey secret passagey thing, and just has his guards take her back to her own chambers, with Twink escaping notice, as Twink so often do. I can't sit out the straight face. Keep going. To finish things out, the newly freed Eldstar gives Mario a gift for he disappears. Star Power, along with a star move, Refresh, which heals you and gives you some FP back. The more Star Spirits you save, the more power and moves you get. And once they're all saved, Mario will get the Star Beam, which should be able to nullify the Star Rod's power. That all communicated, Eldstar flies back to Star Haven, and our episode ends. Next
Beautiful.
time, we will head to the desert to go to Dry Dry Ruins.
Awesome. So, yeah, let's listen to some more fantastic Paper Mario music and then talk about our memorable moments.
It should be the Koopa Bros theme.
So, the Let's Play I was using to follow along is apparently for Paper Mario Master Quest, a ROM hack by people who don't understand game design and like to make things hard for no reason because they think hard is good, and everything just has more health, and does more damage, so you just barely survive every single fight in the game, and it's stupid.
I could see that being fun for some people if you want that, but I just love the extremely perfect balance and design of Paper Mario is so good. I don't think I'd want to play it another way.
You definitely wouldn't, because they've changed a couple jokes to be their own. Why would you touch the writing of this game?
The writing's so good.
Yeah, no. I actually have played one of those, harder ROM hack versions, and, there's some interesting things they do add, but, yeah, just making the whole game way harder is losing out a little bit on what's going on. I will say, I have, when we did a New Year's Eve stream, I did a little bit of a randomizer playthrough of the game. This is probably my favorite game to randomize, and part of it is just the fun of trying to tackle much more difficult sections way before you should. But that's fun because if you are able to find the right badges, you can, even at an extremely low level and with almost no health, pull off some insane shit. It's a fun system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this game is. We haven't seen much of it yet, of course, because we just finished Chapter 1, but this game's systems are so elegantly designed that it's, like Sam was saying, the goal was to make something very simple, but also very deep and interesting, and they really pulled it off.
Yeah. What I adore about this so much, and I see so few other turn-based JRPGs that do something like this. Literally, the one that sticks out in my brain is a game that is literally made to be like Paper Mario, Bug Fables, is the very low numbers sort of thing. Again, you start with 10 HP, you're doing 1 damage. When you go from 1 to 2 damage later, it's a big change. And I think there's a really huge benefit to keeping the numbers so low. Even at the end of the game, 100 HP is, a lot. That's, final boss level HP. And there's a huge benefit to doing that because it makes the increments in damage and it makes the scaling and difficulty immediately feel much more recognizable than, say, if you're playing a Final Fantasy game and you switch out a sword and it's like, oh cool, I went from doing 35 damage with my attack and now I'm doing 42 damage with an attack. And it's like, that's a lot. It is a incremental change that a bunch of those together add up, but they don't immediately grok as well as just going from 1 to 2.
Yeah, this has even lower numbers than Dragon Quest, and we have spoken highly of Dragon Quest small numbers, and these are even smaller.
And I like that, like, there is clear, like, the different attacks have different... I'm trying to think of the weird way to describe this. Like, jumping and hammering and all the things the partners can do are almost like different elements in a way, like the way that like different enemies are specifically weak to certain things and aren't or immune to other things. And there is strategy in finding especially with the addition of badges, finding like the exact strategies that are perfect for certain enemies or certain bosses, and like it feels rewarding to play with.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like this game. It was one of the first RPGs I ever played in my entire life.
Same.
And it still holds up, and that rules. Because there are quite a few games that were some of my first ones ever that do not hold up, and this one is not one of those. I really liked almost all of it. I didn't take any screenshots or anything for Mim-Moms or anything like that because I just had a smile plastered on my face the whole time I was playing.
Before I replayed this recently, one thing that I often thought about this game is I would think I like how the paper in this game is just sort of a little visual style. It's not like a whole fucking thing like it is in the later Paper Mario games. It's just it just looks like paper. And that's it. That's fine. I like that. And then in the opening cutscene, the attract mode, we have Cammy taped to the thing, and I'm like, oh, there is a little bit of that, I guess.
There's a little bit. It's incremental. Like, there's a little bit. There's that. There's Mario falling, and he falls the distance as, like, a little, like, paper on the wind sort of thing. There's little things like that. And then the sequel adds in the paper moves. And then it's like every game from that point on just emphasized the paper more and more, which I definitely agree was a bit of a mistake. I prefer the paper thing just being a stylistic choice and just like not treated as you know, the focus.
I don't really remember Thousand Year Door very much, but I think isn't it like some like weird eldritch bizarre thing that Mario's able to do the paper moves?
They're eldritch curses.
That's wonderful.
It's so good. I was like, the thing that sticks out to me the most about this game, even more than the small numbers thing, which is the thing I've carried with me a long time. When I saw a magazine ad for this game. Is the first way I saw anything about it. I don't remember the magazine, but some random gaming magazine me and my family got at a grocery store had an ad for this game, and it was just like the castle in space. And I was like, what Mario game is this? Okay. And I looked it up online, and I swear I recall there being some Flash game that was like this super thrown together, like, advertising thing that was like focusing on a couple of the partners, like Goombario and Cooper and stuff. And I'd played a couple Mario games at that point. I'd played 64, I'd played Super Mario Bros. 3, I might have played the original, I can't remember. But I knew Mario stuff, and I played it just being like, okay, but Goombas are the bad guys. Koopas are those you stomp those. Are what? And I just think like the genius of Paper Mario on some level, and calling it genius is probably overstating it, but just taking it is always chaotic eviling the Mario creatures. Being like the first step in the franchise of like, oh yeah, no, there's like really chill Goombas and Koopas out there. They're like regular people. It's just that Bowser hires a lot of them. And actually like taking the, you know, what we had seen thus far in the Mario world and other games, and just being like, let's try to like make a world with this. Let's have fun. Let's design some really cool locations. Let's like make this a setting. and they succeed in that really well, I would say.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. I accidentally watched a commercial for Paper Mario, and I've put it in host chat because it's good.
Okay.
It has Bowser threatening Peach with a paper shredder, and Mario, who is made of paper, being scared of a goat because
Old
I guess
school.
goats eat paper.
Old,
It's good.
old school Nintendo commercials were the weirdest in the best way.
Oh yeah, I have a very vivid memory of that Super Smash Brothers one where it's the people in the mascot costumes just beating each other up.
Do you guys remember the free demo Paper Mario ad?
No.
No.
It was a magazine ad. It's fantastic. It's just Mario on a white background with the cutout scissors thing, and just says free demo. Just cut out a Paper Mario, and then you have Paper Mario.
That's so
Cute.
good. That's so
And it has
good.
it has the castle floating in space there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm gonna say I mentioned the bit with the having to talk to Merlin behind his desk, basically being the way you actually progress, and how that completely confused me as a kid and got me very stuck. There are multiple other points in this game that got me stuck, and we've already passed another one of them, and that was outside the Goomba King's tower thing when you're supposed to find the switch. I, for some reason, didn't recognize that the bush it's hidden in was an area I could get to, and didn't try to, and so was just so confused searching everything, being like, it says it's in the grass. Where is it in the grass? I can't see it.
There are definitely areas that look there. There's not a very clear visual language on what areas you can get to and which ones you can't sometimes.
No, there's not.
But
also, I was just very dumb.
Yeah, I would say that usually that manifests in it looks like you can get somewhere but you can't, not it looks like you can't get somewhere but you can. So, who can say?
Who can say? I don't know.
We've barely even talked about the writing in this game, even though it's so good.
It's this game. I feel like there. If I had to like point to like a thing that's like why Bowser is like beloved as he is, I think Paper Mario is a huge reason why Bowser is so beloved. Like the way he's written in this game, he's just such a lovable idiot. Like he's just so vain and so obsessed with himself, and giving him the lackey of Kami Koopa to follow him around and just like hang on his every word. It's just perfect. They're a great double act.
Mm-hmm. And we get to learn all sorts of fun words like veranda. And there were a few lines that stuck out to me as things that I remember just being sort of like my first encounter with that turn of phrase playing this at like 10 years old. Like Goombario's father, the gate gets destroyed and he's like, oh my god, I just spent all day fixing that gate. No one say gate to me.
I remember that. I distinctly remember as a kid not getting the joke, and now I'm like, oh, that's funny. There's also a couple like I hesitate to call them secrets necessarily, but like things that are easy to miss. Like if the area where you get the hammer, you can, if you bash the trees, you can find Goombario's younger sister's doll, and you can return it to her for a star piece. Or
I forgot to do that this time.
You should. The star pieces are useful, but also much less. Like, there's no reward for doing this. It's just a fun thing. At the party at the very beginning. Why did you share that?
I couldn't suffer myself.
No.
I have to share this with a friend now.
I'm not going to tell the listening audience what just happened.
Okay, so I'm not either, but completely inconsequentially, at the beginning of the game at the party, if you talk, there's a guard who's blocking Peach's bedroom. But if you talk to him, he's like, "No, you can't come in." But if you talk to him 5 times, he's like, "Okay, fine, you can go in." And he steps aside. You could just go into Peach's room as Mario early.
I did not know you could do that.
I didn't either for a long time, but I've read it on some site, and I did it this playthrough. Like it's just a random fun thing you can do, and there's like unique examining dialogue for everything in there as Mario compared to when you're Peach.
I do know that. I do remember when you can go. You can go in there when you go to the castle at the very end of the game, which I don't think is much of a spoiler. I mean, I don't think it's much of a spoiler that this game doesn't have too complex and weird a plot, that we do end up going to the castle to save the princess at the end. But when you go in there at the end, I remember examining the vanity as Mario, and it's like, there's lots of makeup here, but Mario looks fine without it. And I thought that was cute. But Mario
I love
also
that
should
bit.
be
It's
able to
very
wear
cute.
makeup
He should.
if he wants.
Anything else before we wrap it up today?
That's all I can think of.
Awesome. So that'll do it for the week. If you like what you heard, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where any and all donations help us cover the cost of running the show and making it better and better. If you set up a recurring monthly donation, you also get the additional benefits. If you donate $1 more a month, you get access to our bonus feed, where this week we are playing a giant section of Tales of Destiny, and the episode will be about half as long as all of the others have been. It's just a 12 dungeon gauntlet. This is the part of the game that all of the things we were looking up earlier said would have really bad pacing, and that's what we do this week.
We were so excited that things were finally going to start happening in this game.
And no, it turns out we are headed towards the final boss, and then we'll get a fake out that he's not the real final boss, and then we'll fight that final boss, and that'll be the end of the game. This game got interesting like in the last, not even full act, like last 10 minutes. Anyways, more on that on the bonus feed. You also get access to our polls to decide what we play next on the main feed. But if that's the thing that you're joining for, sit back. We have 3 games that have just got decided on, so it'll be quite a long time before our next poll. But thanks to everyone who had donated to vote during this recent voting. It was a roller coaster, and it was awesome. If you donate $5 or more a month, we'll also shout out your name at the end of every episode, just like this. Shoutouts to Cerebral Wind, It's Claire Time, Frost Terror, Dragon Slayer 19, Floris, Kildron, Freddy Rodriguez, AA Ron524, and JFro Prime. And then finally, if you love us so much you want to donate $20 or more a month, you can also get me to say a sentence of your choosing, either to plug something or just to make me say whatever you want. Shoutouts to El Tantavi, who wants you to check out critical-distance.com, an aggregator for games criticism and journalism. Shoutouts to Vimk, who wants to let you know that as of September 18th, 2023, there's a ROM hack for Legend of Legaia that fixes the shitty, grindy progression of the US version. So if you ever bounced off of it back in the day, you should try it again and play it with this patch. And then shoutouts to Carr, who is a dentist, so he isn't plugging a website, but rather your own mouth. And he says to brush your teeth twice a day, most importantly, the time before you go to bed. For RPG Book Club, I've been Sam Allman.
I'm Bernard.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye. I do want to point out the thing you shared. If you actually open the full thing and look, it says under it, "Hey, did you know that Vivian is trans?" How cool is that? If you don't like that fact, I don't care. I like Viv. Mario likes Viv. Be like Mario. Mario cares about trans people. Trans rights are human rights.
That's beautiful.
I did not
I love
notice that because I did not open the.
Yeah.
I'm glad this ad is cool. Actually, it also
good.
says at the top, Nintendo of America, please don't sue me because I leaked your not safe for work Vivin 18 plus spinoff game. I need the money for college, please. By the way, Sonic's a better LMAO, JK. I like both.
This meme. How old is this meme?
Let's see. This was posted on June 30th of last year. Or of
Last year?
2022.
Not okay. That's not surprising.
So good.
Okay. Well, I hope you both have a lovely night.